Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam, Imam.
How are you?
Alhamdulillah.
Thank you for coming. This is our brother Sameel Meer. He's one of our trustees at Lewisham Islamic Center. Himself, his family, his father, they've been part of the Lewisham community for many, many years, from the early days before we actually came onto this site. Sameel, thank you for this great opportunity being with us. If you can speak a bit about our history, where are we coming from as a center and a community, please?
Sure. Jazakallah khair, Imam. Our involvement with the masjid, or I should say with the community, started back in 77, 78 when we moved to the London Borough of Lewisham. At that time, there were very few families around, and if I can remember, also I think the only masjid around at that time was Regent's Park, or as it's known as Central Mosque, and that's at least an hour's journey from Lewisham. So at that particular time, the families that were around, they decided to work towards establishing a community, a place of worship, a place where we could meet, where the community could develop. One of our founders, Dr. Sabia Salim, she sent out about 400 letters at that time, and there were 3 or 4 families that replied back. And one of them was Eric Siddiqui. He was a founding trustee as well. And at that time they used to pray in Dr. Salim's front room. And then they soon established the fact that they had to, as the family and the community started to grow, they realized that we had to move to a place where we could congregate, where we could pray, where we could meet up. So shortly after that, we started to hire some halls. So one of the halls I remember praying in as a child was in Downham, which still exists, Wesley Hall. And so we were, I think, about 20, 30 people at the time, worshippers. And then alhamdulillah, after that, as the community developed and grew, we were able to acquire Brown Hill Road, 283 Brown Hill Road on the South Circular, back in 1984. Alhamdulillah. At that time, when the building was purchased, it was a 6-bedroom house, and what they did is they knocked through the walls. Rather than just praying in individual rooms, they managed to put a massive marquee in the back as well in the garden, and alhamdulillah, we were able to up to peak time get up to about 400 worshippers on a Jummah and Eid Salah. Shortly after that, obviously the community expanded and grew, and at that time I just also like to mention some names, some of the families that were involved that I can remember. You had Mujahid Saab, he was one of the trustees. I mentioned Eric Siddiqui, Dr. Salim. There were also, when I was growing up, we was referred to our elders as aunties. So there was Kishwar auntie, Rahana auntie, Sabia, another Sabia auntie, and Auntie Sabia, she actually started the madrasa in her kitchen, in her house in Bellingham, back in, I think, around 78, 79. And also, many families contributed. Some of the names I would also like to add is Yusuf Khan, Auntie Farida, mashallah, they contributed a lot. Auntie Farida started a madrasa, fi sabilillah, and she taught, I think, 15, 20 years. Ghulam Shabir we mentioned as well, Mujahid Khan, Raja Saab, mashallah, Auntie Imtiaz, many people, mashallah, contributed. I'm sorry if I've missed out any names, but may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from everybody that contributed, that sacrificed, that volunteered, and add this to their hasanah, inshallah. And alhamdulillah, from that time, the children, they were starting to, with the education, and learn and develop. So they moved from the house, and then they started running a separate project, which is like the madrasa. And then they were able to locate find some rooms and some classrooms and get some funding at Whole Beach down in Catford. So, alhamdulillah, there were two projects. There was the Sunday school, and then there was the masjid. And then shortly afterwards, Hafiz Jazmia, he came over and joined the community with his family. And we were able to have a lot more stability in terms of spiritual leadership, developing the community, cultivating the community. And alhamdulillah, that went on for a few years. And at that time we had, mashallah, families that were contributing, many volunteers. We had the Malik family, we had the Chaudhry family, we had Asifa Khan, who passed away recently, may Allah be pleased with her family, her husband, late husband as well, who was a volunteer. He was our caretaker. And so alhamdulillah, the community was starting to build a strong foundation. And that went on for over a decade. And then I remember a young man who joined the community, who was actually part of the community, went to study and then came back around 96, 97. And that young man was Imam Shakil. Mm-hmm. And so, mashallah, when Imam Shakil came back, the youth, in terms of study circles, that was developing nicely. And I remember when we approached, I don't know if you remember, Imam, when we approached you to become the Imam. I don't know if you remember your reply, but I was amazed till this day. Imam replied back and said, don't call me an Imam, I'm not worthy of becoming an Imam. So alhamdulillah, we were able to progress and move forward, and then eventually, obviously, Brown Hill Road Centre, that became, it wasn't big enough to cover the growing community. So in the year 2000, the chairman at the time, Shabir Ghulam Shabir, who was very, very mashallah, inspirational, and did a lot of hard work and negotiating in terms of the purchase of this particular site here, which used to be, ironically, a nightclub. Mm-hmm. So the owner at the time was 87 years old, and I was fortunate to be in the meeting with Shabir Saab and the seller at the time. And at that time we didn't have the funds. We were fundraising, trying to raise money, and this centre, this site was really ideal for us. It was an ideal location. So I remember that in the meeting, Shabir Saab said to the seller at the time, he was saying to him, look, who happened to be a Muslim, and maybe not a practicing Muslim, but he was Muslim, and the chairman said to him at the time that, you've been running this place as a nightclub for so many years, you've built up, wealth of sin, or, however it was, why don't you sell it to us, and we would develop it into a masajid, into a centre. And we also got a discount as well then. And I remember there was a church that was after after this location, and they had the funds, the finances. So alhamdulillah, we were able to acquire this building. And then just on the side, there was a printer, printers that was what became available. So we were able to buy the printer, and then a few years later, the corner building, 2 doors away, we used to be run as a bookies. Mm-hmm. And so alhamdulillah, the community came together, and in 1 month they were able to raise the finances to acquire that building. And now, alhamdulillah, with Allah's grace, and the support of the community, we have the whole block. So, just want to appeal again to the community that the work is still not done. We have a long way to go. We need your support. We need your donations. So please donate, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept and add this to your hasana. And accept from us. So jazakumullah khair.
Thank you very much. Some of the points I think Sameel mentioned are very important to take those into context, in the sense how it started from houses with 4 or 5 people. He was mentioning to me earlier on when I think Dr. Salim started her madrasa. She had 5 children in her house, and he was one of those 5 starting in those early days, from a small house to a 70 detached house on Browning Hill Road, where we are today in terms of vibrant, active, confident, proud Muslim community in the London Borough of Lewisham. But saying this, look, the vision hasn't stopped. We still need to kind of like cater for the needs of the Muslims and of course the non-Muslims in our community. And this is where, inshallah, our vision here is in terms of redeveloping the site here for a purpose-built masjid, the first purpose-built masjid in the London Borough of Lewisham. So please, inshallah, do make sure that you donate and you contribute. Inshallah, it will be a sadaqah, a charity, a sadaqah jariyah, one of the greatest forms of sadaqah jariyah, a masjid. Because the Prophet said, the best place on earth are the masajid. You will be contributing and leaving a sadaqah for a masjid. Every person that will pray, will learn Quran, will teach Quran, will take shahada, you will have a reward, inshallah, in that because of your contribution towards this legacy and this center, inshallah. Thank you very much, and thank you to Sameel for your time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.